Hi, Roger. Looking at your case here, I've understand that you've got a client buying a $750,000 home. They want to put or can put $450,000 as down. You want to compare the 30 to a 10-year, and then also maybe look at what if they put a smaller down payment down. So let's look at that, because it's really, it's interesting. It's two different scenarios, and I find in those kinds of cases you may want to break it down into two separate plans. We'll kind of try to address it here in one plan, but sometimes I'll do, say, the two 30s, one with a big down payment, one with a small down payment, and you want to make that decision first, and then to compare the 30 to, say, a 10-year, like you were talking about, and and you can do that here as well. You just have to do it a little more dynamically, right? You would show the two 30s. So let's start off with that. So I'm going to say new 30, and I'm going to call a 10-year arm. We'll call this a 30-year fix. These are good for your labels, it's also for you. And let's call this lower down payment, with the idea that we're going to compare the 30 to the 10, and then whichever of these is best, we'll use that and then compare it with the lower down payment. That's another way you can break it into sort of a two-step process, where essentially you're going to compare a 30 and a 10, and then compare an alternative financing option. Kind of you're taking the best of the two and then rolling it into the third scenario to see if that's even better. Okay? So we got a 30-year fixed. You've got a $750 purchase price, contract price, loan amount of $300. It's going to require $400,000 down. 10-year arm. You're looking at a 1040 fixed IO, which I know is a product that you like, and you've got that the same interest rate. So it's going to be fixed 10 years, and then it's going to adjust over the remaining 30, and it's going to be interest only at the 4%. And then whichever of these two is the best, we'll decide on that first, then we can come back and put that into the lower down payment option. So we're going to need $450,000 here. There's no closing costs. I'm assuming you just, for illustration purposes, this is going to be the same either way, so you're just keeping the concept simple, which I also like. I tell people sometimes if you're explaining a concept to somebody, then closing costs and things get in the way, right? You can just explain the concept and say the closing costs are going to be the same whether you A or B, and that allows a cleaner overall example. So we know that whether you get a 30 or a 10-year arm, the down payment is going to be the same. Now, the payment's going to be different because this is an amortizing 30. This is a 10-year arm, interest only within a 40 years. So it's really a 10-year interest only with a 30-year stuck on the back of it at 4%. So you have the same interest rate. You're obviously going to pay more interest over time because you got a 40-year versus a 30. And you're paying interest only, so you've got $432 here. You would actually, on an after-tax basis, this is one where I would want to show after-tax for sure, because one of the benefits of an interest-only arm is that you're not paying principal, therefore your tax benefits are level. They stay the same over time, whereas with the 30, the amortization, you're paying down principal, you're paying less interest, and that's good, but you're getting less tax deduction. So you want to, sync up, make sure you've got the fixed payment here is the same, because you want to pay the same amount to each. And you've got a time frame here, let's just say, of 10 years. Property appreciation is 0, and then after-tax savings rate is 4%. So we know that the after-tax savings rate is 4%. Your borrowing cost is 4% for both of these. So whether the money goes inside the house or it goes into an investment or side fund, it won't matter from a wealth standpoint, because you're earning the same amount in all three places, right? If I pay down this debt, I'm earning 4%. If I pay down this debt, I'm earning 4%. And if I invest money in the investment account at 4%, it's all the same. It's going to be a wash. So over a 10-year time frame here, the only real savings difference that you have, you'll notice, is the tax savings, as we mentioned, because the interest only is going to be more tax efficient than the 30-year fixed would be. And overall, we don't see that much of a difference. The other difference here is a savings balance, right? You've got that extra monthly payment going to a savings account here. Here, it's going down towards mortgage liability. So my mortgage liabilities here are $236. Here, it's still $300, but I've got that extra $63 over here. So that's all pretty much washing out. So you could say over a 10-year time period, apples to apples, there's no big difference either way here. And if you go out to say 15 years, you can start to see you got a little bit bigger tax benefit. But my guess is because you're paying more interest as we go further and further out, 20 years, 30 years, so you're seeing just the only real difference here is tax benefit. But you're also completely done here. If I go out to 40 years, which would be your full term, you still got the ongoing tax benefits, which is nice and an offset. But all things being equal, that's really the only benefit, unless you could earn a higher return. So if you could earn say a 5% after-tax savings rate, then I would expect this to be a bigger number because now I'm earning a little bit more of a return. So the question is really one from a wealth perspective, not a big difference here. The one versus the other, tax benefits only, that's the only thing that's going to really stand out for this particular client. And the funny thing is, if you put money away in an investment account at 4%, you're earning the same thing you're paying in interest on a mortgage. So I can already tell you that if I went up here and said, let's look at a lower down payment, and let's just duplicate the 10, so we're going to bring all this down first. But instead, we're going to put down, say, 20%. Okay, so I'm going to borrow, 80, so we're going to borrow 80%, put down 20%. So I'm going to borrow $600,000. Let's just say, for simplicity, you could do it at the same 4% rate. All right, so what I would do here, okay, is you've got $450,000 available. This is why we have this in place. 4500. So this allows you to go in here and say there's $450,000 available, right? Now what this does is this helps you because now you can see in this scenario I'm using all my cash to buy the house. I'm using all my cash to buy the house. I'm only using 150 of my cash to buy the house. That leaves me 300. So I can see my payment here is different, right? It's going to be 228 higher here. That's going to be my after-tax net payment. And then what I want to do is I have something I can do something with that cash. I can just leave it there. But I'm going to come down here and say I want to make a one-time payment of $300,000, and I want to make that at closing. All right, and so now it's going to show that $300,000 going into a savings account at closing because we've got savings instead of repaying. So I can see that below, right? If I look at my savings balance here at the end of 10 years, it's $363,649. Here is $63,649. So here I'm just getting the $432 going in with a 4% interest. Here I'm getting the exact same amount, but I've got the initial lump sum of $300,000. Okay, and so I can see that that's the savings balance over that particular time period. So you'll notice now I get a bigger pop because I've got a little bit higher tax savings. See, my tax savings jumped from $40,000 to $81,000. Because my loan amount is so much bigger, and that again is really where the main benefit is coming from. The net equity differences are a wash, but the wealth impact here is really coming from the fact that the interest only is much more efficient over that 10-year time frame. If I go over 15 years, you can see the benefit there. So in that case, if they want some additional liquidity, what you can do is show them that having a situation where they put down 150, let's say, and if they could borrow on this product at 4%, they do have a positive wealth impact from the increased tax savings. And you could even, if you wanted to, if you wanted to net this out on a wealth impact, you could figure out, say, if the target time frame is 10 years, and the extra tax savings here is $44,805 or $40,000. Divide that 40,000. So this is just another way to possibly, if you want to be a little more aggressive, say, okay, so you got 40,000 in tax savings divided by 120 months. You're saving an extra $333 a month on average. That's the savings on a monthly basis. Then you could come in here and say, so you're saving an extra $333. So we want to come up here, and you could add another payment and say, I'm going to take that $333, I'm going to pay it monthly until the loan is paid off, right? And you could go through and put that in there as an extra payment that could be used to, sort of like, it's almost like you're reinvesting your savings over time to build some additional, wealth over time. And all that's going into the savings account. So you're telling them, hey, we put the 300,000 in, you're going to, the other thing you could do is just say, look, this negative 228 is being offset by that 333. So instead of doing it, you could tell like a story and say, if you divide this by 120, that's 333 a month. So you are paying 228 a month more out of pocket, but that's being offset annually by your tax savings. All right, so what you're really doing is you're just getting a higher liquidity use and control of your money over that time period. So I hope this helps, and the way I tend to break these things up is to chunk it into two decisions. I'd say first, what's better for you, 30 or the 10? And in this case, as we said, there was no real difference. They were pretty much a wash. This was only a tiny bit better from a tax perspective. Now, let's compare the 10-year with the 10-year with a lower payment or 10-year with a higher payment. So now you're saying between these two, this is better. Between these two, which would you prefer? Have a great day.